legislation they put in place to oppress us and subjugate us, man, that's being done in these island countries too. Now you could say maybe not Jamaica because it's a, because it's an all-black country, but shit, man, Haiti is still paying all kinds of debt to France. So if you can't say they're not being subjected, then you're not looking. We need to be building collaborations. I know we need to worry about American ADOS here. Yeah, just like we need to worry about our children and our bills. That's how I look at that. Of course, we're supposed to worry about American ADOS, just like we're supposed to worry about our house, our kids, and our bills. But what about the numerous African countries where slaves were dropped off? I mean, what about them? They were enslaved way before this was called America. And I just don't like us trying to distance ourselves from island ADOS, man. We need to be building collaborations, not trying to, with ADOS, all ADOS, not just American ADOS, all ADOS. We need to stop restricting ourselves and building collaborations with our island brothers and sisters, and even our South American brothers and sisters. I have no problem with immigrants from Brazil or Barbados. We need to be putting them into our culture. And another thing, these African slaves, now in America, they stripped us down like a whiteboard. In America, they did. They broke us, they slipped us down like a whiteboard. But in some of these island countries and in South America, the African slaves got to keep their culture. And that's what we're looking for now. So why are we shooing them away when they got to keep more of their culture and we're trying to regain our culture? Isn't that what we're trying to do? Isn't that what we're trying to do? And these people got to keep more of their African culture than us, and we're trying to learn our culture. So why are we shooing these people away?
All right, Chris, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I guess I can I understand the point. But so if I guess Twan's talking more in a global sense, and I can get where he's going with that. But I feel like a lot of the islands, and I'm somebody who descends from Jamaicans on my father's side, but a lot of the islands were under different rule, and they are owed a debt from the ruling nations that created and inhabited those lands. So for instance, Jamaica would be, they should aim their sights on England, Haiti, France. They should be aimed at the islands, and Spain. And so they should be aimed at those places. Whereas we here in America, that's the A in ADOS is American descendants of slaves. I guess you could say African descendants of slaves or something like that, but then that would start a whole different debate, a whole different conversation, in my opinion. And I'm not sitting here trying to act like, well, we're better, or we're better off, or in a better position and all that. And so we should get ours first, or nothing like that. My contention is that this is something that we need to be aiming our sights on, just like in Jamaica, just like in Haiti, just like in Barbados, just like in Brazil, just like, all those places. They need to be aiming their sights on the people who initially conquered them, subjugated them, and continue to subjugate them as a result of the laws and legislations that they put in place. Now, I feel like the conversation about culture is a completely different conversation versus reparations. Reparations necessarily doesn't include, in my opinion. Now, tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like reparations doesn't have a component in there for that necessarily or directly aims at establishing or even repairing a culture. Whereas this is just talking about an economic undergirding or foundation to be injected into a people who have been wronged by the nation in which they inhabit. That to me is what reparations is ultimately about. Not so much about, oh well, you know, like in certain parts of Africa, you know where you are by, you know, by what you wear, by how you dress, you know, things like that. Like that's a completely different conversation, in my opinion, than what's to take place for ADOS and what the aims of ADOS are. We can't. I don't want to, you know, take the aims and the goals of ADOS and start saying, well, what about this? Let's throw that in there. What about this? Let's throw that in there. Now all of a sudden it becomes this Mobius huge amorphous thing that doesn't really have an actual straightforward aim. And I feel like if that's something we're looking for culturally, if we're looking for something culturally, let's have a commission that's set up for that. Let's aim directly for that. If we have something, if we're looking for something that's in direct, thank you. If we have something that's looking or that's aiming directly towards economics, let's aim for that. If we have something or if we're setting our sights on legislation, let's aim have a commission that's set up for that. But we can't try to get everything and put everything into the box and say, okay, we got this huge box here, fix it. That to me, that slows us down more than it speeds us up and gets us to what the ultimate goal is, which is a foundation, a financial, economic foundation set up for the people who inhabit this land based on the laws and practices created or set forth by the people who helped to establish this land where we stay here in America. That's it.
I like to piggyback out that. Now, you got how many different parts of the United States was bought? The Louisiana Purchase. Before America bought the Louisiana Purchase, who owned it? The French. So all the slaves there were French. All the slave masters were French. They didn't become American until they sold it. So who's culpable there? Both of them. France and America are culpable for all the slaves that got bought in the Louisiana Purchase. Just because they sold it to America doesn't free France of their culpability here in the United States. You don't understand that?
No,
The Louisiana Purchase was an area owned by France. The Louisiana Purchase was an area owned by France that had slaves working on it for so long until America bought it. So just because they sold it to America, that frees France of their liability to us here in America. America is not the only country that owes American ADOS reparations. American ADOS are owed reparations from all of these countries, not just America. And we're just asking money from, yeah, we need to ask money from America, but we need to ask money from everywhere else too, because they're not the only ones that are culpable. All these other countries are culpable. So when us just asking this country for money, that's not gonna go well. We need to be asking all of these freaking countries for money because all of them are liable here. All of them stuck their place here. They didn't just get off the boat and this was America. I mean, come on, man. They didn't just get off the boat and this was America. It was all kinds of different nationalities enslaving us. And then they decided to become American. When did America exist? It didn't coincide with slavery. I'm just saying America and slavery didn't coincide with each other. They both didn't start together. The United States of America and slavery didn't both start together.
I got you.
Culpability for the United States is proven is due because they enacted laws against us, not just, that's why the U.S. is culpable. No other group of people, immigrant from no other country, has had laws that marginalize them to a caste system, policies, and sometimes violence and reign of terror. And you know it, and you know what, to say that anybody else is due an American descendant of slavery's part of that reparations pie, who ancestors. My father was born on a plantation in the 30s. I met my great grandmother, and when she passed in 1992, I had 2 kids. This is real. That dirt road segregation, my parents came from the Jim Crow era. And this is real. And what we've been through, our legacy, that reign of terror in itself, it's enough to say no other group in the world has had the laws of the land against them, period. And then when you go back and look at some of the laws and the ways the law was manipulated that benefited non-Blacks, you would be appalled at the audacity of the United States not to pay the debt. And no other group of people, the Nigerians, Jamaicans, no one suffered like we did in America, because 1865 was the beginning of the true nightmare. Like as we spoke of with slavery, you know what occurred to me? In 1776, they could have barred slavery, period, in this new nation. But they chose not to because of the economic gain of slavery, free labor. So it was a conspiracy from the inception. And bottom line,
A global
in
one.
America is so traumatic. It's really unspeakable. And again, the audacity is them refusing to pay the debt because the receipts are there. The data is there, the receipts is there. But the only thing that's not on our side is the law. Sorry about that. I'm done, babe. Sorry. Okay. The only thing that's not on our side, basically, is the law, all the unjust laws, and that is our receipt against the U.S. government, the Constitution. The Jamaicans, the Nigerians, nobody else can say we had laws against us. We had the laws, the deck was stacked against us in 1776 when they wrote 3/5 of a human being. We became stock, we became increase. So again, this is our legacy and our gift to American society, basically. When they say we built it in every aspect, it is literally, not just figuratively, literally true. And that's all I have. Thank you.
And
All right,
I
hold
appreciate
on.
that. I'm sorry. I'm
Antoine, hold
sorry.
on. I'm gonna jump in real quick. Okay, so it'll be Chris and then Antoine, but we are at the 2-hour mark. So if you have to go, that's completely understandable. We'll see you next week. If not, let's continue. And Chris did have his hand up first, so we'll get to him and then Antoine.
Oh, I like what Miss Alvani was saying. I mean, you know, just to, you know, I'm with it, and you're right. I mean, and that's what this is about. I mean, it's about legislated efforts to keep us in an oppressed or subjugated state. That's what the whole of this, in my opinion, is about. Not just to hold the world accountable for treating dark-skinned people poorly. I mean, because, I mean, if that's the case, then like you said, Antoine, we can go around the world and say, why are people who are dark are treated much worse, you know, in India? Why is white skin cream, you know, bleaching skin cream being sold in inordinate amounts in certain parts of India just so people can have a livelihood? In Jamaica, in Haiti, and even in Nigeria and the Congo. Like, we're seeing that stuff is being sold all over the place just so people can have a better lifestyle or be treated slightly better than the people who are of darker hues. That is a completely different conversation, in my opinion, than what we're talking about here for ADOS, which is more so of a structured, legislated effort to keep a certain people in a subjugated state. That's what we're talking about here. And that's not to minimize or, you know, pacify, you know, what you were addressing, but I just feel like that's a bigger issue than what ADOS is aiming to tackle. It's almost like when people say, you know, Black Lives Matter, right? Black Lives Matter is supposed to be moving for, well, initially they were talking about, you know, we matter too, and what about us? And we want to get ourselves into a state and place of equality. That was initially the aim of Black Lives Matter. Then all of a sudden, transgender, then the LGBTQ movement, then all this other stuff. And you're like, wait, what's all of this? What are you doing? Then you have people saying, well, Black Lives Matter. What about black on black crime? Wait a minute, that ain't got nothing to do with that either. So let's not just say just because there's a movement or just there's a people that's trying to do something that they have to be all encompassing of every single effort or every single thing that needs to take place. Even if some of those things may be akin to one another, doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be within that same grouping to get those things that you're aiming for accomplished. Going back to the NAACP. I mean, NAACP was, advancement, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. That was considered a terrorist group at one point because people were looking at it like, well, you're trying to get all these black people together to do X, Y, and Z. So they would looked at as if like they were trying to take down the government when all they were seeking for was equality. Then that equality started adding in other efforts to say, okay, well, what about it? Well, we're just trying to get people, educated, get so that way they can get jobs. That was basically it. But it got to a point where the message got completely, I won't say completely, but it kind of got watered down because they started adding in all the whatabouts. What about this? What about that? What about this? And then they lost their effectiveness as a result. So that's what I'm saying. For us to maintain our effectiveness in any sort of sense, our point should be very singular or very minimized to the point where we can say, listen, we're going to hit this with a fine-tooth comb or with a really sharp edge instead of trying to hit you with a blunt tip. That's all.
Go ahead, Antoine.
Here's my thing. Now, everybody here is smart enough to know America exists as a business. You know what I mean? They have influence from everybody. I know these laws were made in the United States, but the United States isn't the only one that benefits from these laws when this country operates as a global corporation. Now, with United States operating as a global corporation, the United States isn't the only one that benefits from its laws. Its partners in globalism benefit from those laws also. And that's what I'm talking from. I'm not trying to turn ADOS into a clown car. I completely understand what ADOS focus is. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm saying more than America. America isn't the only country that prospered from the segregation laws that it made, because America exists as a global corporation. Now, take what I said in that frame.
All right. Well, I will add to that. I think that is the difference between our reparations claim being set as the start of America in 1776 and what the claim from the 1619 project is where it starts with the first of African slaves being brought to America in that year. Because specifically, if we want to have a narrowed focus of where our claim can go, it has to start in 1776 because that's when America came into existence. If we go back to 1619 when the first enslaved Africans came to this country, well then our claim would be less focused. We'd be looking at the British, we'd be looking at the French, we'd be looking at the Spanish, and we'd be looking at America. And we might, I mean, Antoine, what you're saying is true. We do have a claim with all those countries, but we have to start somewhere, and that somewhere is America, because we were grifted into America. Once that Constitution was signed, and we were still here on what became American soil, we are now Black Americans. Our first claim is with America. And I think we focus there first. I agree. We do, I mean, we do have there is a sense that Britain could be held accountable to reparations for Black Americans, same as the French, same as the Spanish, same as Native American tribes, if you want to really be honest, because they had slaves too. But we have to start somewhere. Um, with other DOS, other descendants of slavery around the world, I'm not sure what a stance of solidarity with them would look like. I do think about that sometimes, as far as, Brazilian descendants of slaves and Spanish descendants of slaves, and the loyalists that went into the British Army because they thought that would be their ticket to freedom, and then they ended up in Nova Scotia and poor, and then the other descendants of slavery that ended up in colonies in Liberia, as they what's the name of it? It's like when they were deciding to, or they thought it would be a good idea to have us repatriated. Um, I don't know what that would look like. I agree with you. We should have some sense of solidarity with other descendants of slavery. I'm not sure what that would look like as far as reparations, because our claim is with America. We could support other groups of descendants in getting reparations from the countries where they are, but I'm not sure what that would look like across the globe. I'm not saying that there's like one global claim to reparations, but as far as supporting each group of descendants in making their own claims, that would be amazing if we all stood together in that way. I'm not sure how that would happen. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not absolving the country. I want to get this straight to everybody, because I mean, I'm glad y'all here, you know what I mean, and I want y'all to know where I stand. I'm not trying to absolve America of any culpability. I just want everybody to know that. I'm not trying to absolve America of any type of culpability. But I look at things, man, I play checkers. I don't play chess. You got a whole bunch of people throwing gasoline on the fire, and now we ask the last person that threw gasoline to pay for the house. And those people are saying, oh, well, we're not the only one that did it. No, we're not going to keep that. We're not going to let that keep us from asking what is ours, but we're going to recognize that. Just like when somebody says something to us, we don't just ridicule them. This is being said. This is being said to the people that we are demanding things from, that they were not the only ones culpable. If we want to bring people to the table, we got to start coming up with not compromising our debt, but not laying all the culpability in one place. How do we not know? I mean, part of my plan for reparations, one part includes 2 lifetime seats on the Supreme Court. ADOS descendants elected by ADOS. That's one part of my reparations proposal. And another part is recompense from the United States. But it also has a proposal to where the United States provides us means and counsel to represent us at the UN to get the rest of our money. Because I don't just want money from America. I want money from everybody that had something to do with it. And I'm a student of history. This country is only 300 some years old. And slavery has been going on longer in this country than this country was a country. So it don't make no sense just to be like, oh, well, we're going to forget about all the other countries that came over here and made money off of slavery and then went back over to where they're going. No, America owes up first and then everybody else do. America's gonna pay us and then they're gonna help us get our money from those other countries. I'm not absolving America of anything, but those other countries owe up just as much as America does.
So how far back does that go then? I mean, because we had the if we want to go all the way back, we got the the Arab slave trade has been in effect for 2,000 years. Then, and actually the Arabs are the ones who taught the British about slavery, and they're the ones who brought over the slaves. And the people who from Britain came to the United States weren't British. They were rebels. They were rebels they were anti-British at that time, deciding that instead of having that British way of life, we're going to be Americans now in this new land, and we're going to take over here and have this new thing over here. So they were in effect no longer British. I'm not saying that Britain didn't have their own slaves and things out there. They did. They did there, Australia, Canada even, so they were everywhere. But how far back do we go? That's the it's like almost feel like this is like a version of ancestry.com when people say, "Oh, well, I'm Nigerian." Well, sure, I guess if you look back so many years, but if we go all the way back, people, it's not about the what, it's about the when. I think that's what we're trying to get established. And I think, if we go from the establishment of the country, to me, that makes that's more of a plausible and I get the aims. I get what you're saying, Antoine. I get what you're saying as far as making sure that hitting America first, then going further and saying, okay, well, also Britain. If we really want to talk, we could talk about how Britain has taken and still holds over 14 million artifacts from Egypt that they took and stole from the pyramids. Do we go for that too? If we're going, how far are we going? This is almost like an all lives matter type argument that's taking place, in my opinion, for reparations, which to me kind of waters down the effort. Now I get it if you're saying okay, this is a 10 part resolution plan or something like that you got, and you're saying, okay, well, the first thing we aiming at America, then we're going for people, the island nations, okay, then we're going for all these others, you said countries that brought slaves to what today is called America. Okay, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But where did they learn that from? Go ahead.
I was gonna say he means making a reparations claim against countries in Africa. That, in my opinion, that would be really tough because a lot of us don't even know what country we came from, and we might never know because all we have to go off of is our ancestry DNA, and if anyone has gotten their ancestry DNA, they'll realize it just changed. A lot of us, I was 37% Nigerian, and the system updated, and I'm only 29% Nigerian. So it could update again. So I definitely agree with what you're saying. It would just be so much
harder to prove.
We got to stick with America first.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying.
There's too many of us who aren't even on board with American reparations for us to have a conversation about including claims against other countries. We got to stay focused on American DOS, American debt to Black America. That's just my opinion. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Does anyone have anything else they want to add? Oh, okay. So it is now 11:15, and we're gonna wrap up. So the the last question I had is, we've been talking for the past almost 2.5 hours. And next week we're gonna have our book club discussion. So hopefully by next week we will all have read the book from cover to cover, and we'll all have a beginning knowledge, a somewhat intermediate knowledge of what reparations is, and what do we do with that knowledge? We share it. We reach out. So my last question is, how do we advocate for reparations in Kansas City? How do we, in the chat today, there's 6 of us, and 2 of us are from St. Louis. So how do we increase our numbers? How do we get more of Black Americans in Missouri altogether? How do we get more of us on board with reparations? How do we reach out to our congressmen and women? How do we reach out to our mayors? How do we get more people on board with the movement, with advocacy? How do we do that? How do we use this knowledge? Anyone want to jump in?
I like to say that I actually got introduced to ADOS from somebody that I was talking to the campaign about. So groups, people are aware of ADOS, and people are aware of what we stand for. I know that for sure. But the mayoral, I don't think it's. I mean, our fight is with the federal government. There's nothing as far as reparations goes that that municipal governments can actually help us with. I mean, our focus needs to be, well, I mean, with information, yeah, with our neighbors and everything, but I don't see how, city council members or mayors can help us with not reparations legislation. They could probably help us with information, but reparations can't be passed at a municipal level. So we need to keep pressure on our federal officials and to let them know that's what we're voting for as ADOS individuals. We're voting for reparations. If you're running for Congress and you're in a predominantly ADOS area, or you running for Senate and you're in a predominantly ADOS area, then you got to be for reparations if you want our vote, because that's the only way we're going to get it is from the federal government.
You're
I'll
speaking
say,
on outreach.
oh, go ahead.
As far as outreach is concerned, I put it on my friends are basically my age, but I put it out there. If you guys got outreach information, what are we canvassing? Or we just gonna remain digital or online, which is basically peer-based? So we're gonna try to increase numbers. What are some of the suggestions? Are we doing outreach, active outreach? That's my question. Is that what you're speaking on, Kiara? Basically, active outreach. What are you
Yes,
putting out?
I'm hold on.
Because you young people got it going on. I'm serious. Whatever you guys suggest, are we going to just remain digital? Or you want to go around knocking on doors or putting out flyers in urban areas, just with the website on it? I'm sorry.
Sorry, I'm getting feedback. That's why I keep muting myself. Okay, it's done. But I would say, yes. yes to that. Um, in the city, in order to get people informed about registering to vote, I mean, you know, we do have organizations that are going door to door, getting people informed about voting. So why can't we go door to door getting people informed about ADOS? Um, as far as our local politicians, I like what Antoine said. You know, if you don't support ADOS, we can't support you. And I think that information needs to spread. Like they need to know that if they want to reach their Black American constituents, they need to support reparations at the federal level. I mean, obviously, we can have city-based initiatives, but those don't equate to federal reparations. But we can certainly hold our mayors and city council to supporting federal-based reparations. I don't see anything wrong with that. It's just a question of how do we do that? Do we, so I mean, because this is pretty much what the group is for. Like outside of us, you know, being on Twitter and Facebook or Instagram or wherever else, and our meeting here today, we we're I started the group with From Here to Equality so we could get the data, so we could get the information that we need to push reparations in Kansas City forward. And by that I mean push the information about reparations forward to Black Americans in Kansas City, in St. Louis, across the state of Missouri. So the question is, how do we do that?
I think, kind of going with what Antoine was saying, just to take it even a step further, if we were able to create and establish a voting block, almost like we had our own political party, that would make enormous steps in that it at least would let our politicians and political figures know that we, one, are serious, and two, we're organized. And so from there, then we're able to establish, well, this is what we want. This is what our aims are. Where do you stand? Because this is where we're going. And then that gives the politician the right, I guess, the opportunity to say, okay, well, am I for or am I against what they're talking about? And they'll try to, play the political game and say, oh, I enjoy some of those aims. Maybe not the way that you guys are going about it. You know how they say about things when we do protests and all that stuff. And they say, I like what you're saying. I just don't like the way that you're doing it. That's always the conversation. But I digress. My point is, I feel like if we had some sort of voting block, political party, something that showed that we actually have numbers and we actually have strength, and that shows that we're not afraid of flexing the strength that we have in those numbers, I think that will go a whole lot further than, just online activism that, a lot of us participate in.
Excellent take, man. I'm right with you, brother. I already know what it takes to make another party here in Missouri. Now, my approach would be that we to start at the countywide. We run a petition drive. We need 8%. We need 8% of registered voters on a petition drive for us to start an ADOS party here in Jackson County, Missouri. And yeah, that would be a flex. And yeah, they don't like us flexing, man. I see it. Yeah, they'll shoot one Black unarmed person. You know what I mean? But I noticed the not fucking around committee, how you didn't see not one white person around when you had a group of Black people flexing. So that's what we do. Yeah, we need to flex. We need to show them that we are a force to be reckoned with. And I'm all for starting an ADOS political party here in Jackson County. I'm all for it, man.
Does anyone else want to jump in? Any ideas on advocacy in the city, state? Well, I
What do you
think.
mean by advocacy in the city and state? What do you
I
mean?
mean, like you. Oh, sorry, I'm still not muted. But pretty much like you're saying, with starting a voting block, with starting an ADOS party,
Mhm.
um, just increasing our numbers, getting the message out to more people.
I mean, we can, we can do whatever we want online, but as long as what those online efforts turn into real lives,
Yeah,
making moves in the streets, I think that's what is really what it takes. Because we all know if anybody set up a Facebook event, you know what the difference is between when you click interested and going, and people who actually
Show up.
show up to the event.
people show up.
Yeah, so I think if as long as what we're doing online can also be turned into activism, actual actions being taken. I think that's the move that we need to be making to make sure that we are going into the direction that we want to go, and and letting everyone else know we ain't playing around with it this time.
Yep. Now for me to piggyback on that, I mean, because man, that's where we at now. Starting our own political party. That's really what we need to do. As long and starting that political party, advocacy of what ADOS means, would be part of starting that political party. Now, the deadlines for starting a new party and getting recognized as a new party have passed this year. But I mean, us as a group, we can set a goal, for next election season. I mean, and that will be, and in the meantime, we could be informing people on the streets about what this party would represent and what this party is for.
Yeah, so that means we got time to set up and establish, what our actual aims are, what our goals are, what we're expecting, what of each other, and what we're expecting as a political party. What where we're actually trying to take this thing. So I think that's great. I mean, it didn't take the progressives, and I consider myself kind of a progressive thinker, even though I don't align with everything the progressives do. But it didn't take the progressives a long time to establish themselves within the Democratic Party. As I guess a more far left version of it. But so I feel like if it didn't take a long time for them, it shouldn't take a long time for us to do the same thing. I mean, that's how we got the AOC, the Ayanna Presley's, the Ilhan Omar's out there that's actually making moves up there. So I feel like
Cory Bush
we can do that
too.
for us. Yeah, Cory Butt, absolutely. You know what I'm saying? So it didn't take a whole lot. It was only 2-3 years ago that she was out protesting, and now she's in Congress. So just saying, we could do that as well.
I'd
Okay.
like
I
to.
have a question. I'm sorry.
Okay, you're fine.
Now, my question is, are we going to raise the numbers first, then become a political party, or are we going to do both simultaneously? I'm just trying to look for the practical application. I'm not trying to be funny or anything. So as of now, we're going to start working on boosting our numbers, right? I can go around and put up flyers and just tack them to the like at bus stops or something for people, that rely on public transportation. Kiara, is it okay if I put your website, your information on there? Is there an email or website? Or you want me to just put the ADOS 101 reparations information? What do you guys want to do? I don't mind doing outreach in North St. Louis or anything. If we're trying for a political party, we definitely gonna need numbers from St. Louis and KC, you know, the urban area. That's where our strength is.
Yeah, and I want to comment on what you're saying. Now, the process, starting a statewide political party is harder than starting it by counties. Now, I think that we should grow it by counties first, you know what I mean, and then grow it into a statewide party. But get established at the county level first, you know, and we build our counties up. You know, I don't know where you at over there. St. Charles, is that the county, or St. Louis
No,
County?
I'm in St. Louis City.
Oh, St. Louis County. Okay, I'm sorry. No
City, yeah,
disrespect.
St. Louis City.
St. Louis City. Yeah, but I
Yes.
think that we should start it at the county level. Now, those of us, now is a couple more of us in the Jackson County area, so it'll be a little bit easier for us. But I think that we should start at the county level, and then once we get recognized at the county level, start building it out into a statewide party. I was part of the progressive movement and getting them recognized as a party. And I'm also part of the Green Party too. So I know I've done a lot of studying at the Secretary of State. I know what it takes to start a political party. So I'm here in that regard, as far as, you know, giving us, you know, the information we need to start it, and with advocacy too. I think what we need to do now is we need to start working on, you know, what people want to take certain places in this party and our bylaws. First, we need to work on our bylaws and what we stand for. Our bylaws, what we stand for, and then what people in this group now want to take certain positions in their, are willing to take certain positions. Because we can start the party, but if ain't nobody gonna work it, then, you know, we need people that's gonna, you know, work the party. You know, so we need people to say, hey, okay, we're going to start a party. All right, well, I'll do this for the party. I'll do that for the party. You know what I mean? But I'm here in Jackson County. Soon as the petition drive comes back up, I will get the petitions out. You know what I mean? And we don't have to wait. We don't have to have all our bylaws and everything wrote out before we can start the petition drive. So we can start the petition drive before we have all our bylaws and structures laid out. So I'll keep y'all up to date when we can start that petition drive, so we can at least work on the numbers. That's the numbers part. You know what I mean? The petition drive. That's getting our numbers up. And at the same time, we telling people what ADOS is about. Hey, we're starting an ADOS political group. We're for reparations. We're about the empowerment of African descendants of slaves. And we're starting a political party. Sign here. Two things, two birds with one stone.
Is there a toolkit that you got for online?
You just go to the Secretary of State, Secretary of State, which is John Ashcroft, and there's a link there. There's a link there.
I was asking in regards to ADOS. Do anybody know if it's a toolkit?
Yeah, I think there is. I know a lot of the other official ADOS chapters do have gone through the steps of increasing the numbers to a point where they were able to organize and become official. I don't want to say like nonprofit status, but I do, though they have organized leadership as well as outreach that they do. So with that, this is like, honestly, everyone has their strong suits. Everyone has the points where they'll be able to take over, accept responsibility, or fulfill other roles better than I can. Let's be honest.
No, I was thinking maybe we can mirror whatever happens in Kansas City. We can try to do it, provide the information here in St. Louis.
Right. So there can also be an ADOS St. Louis.
Yeah. Not that I wanna like
Oh no no no.
I'm just
That's
here
that's
learning.
oh,
But if
great.
we can get, I mean, it would be easier if it's like if Antoine knows information, okay, my sister and I can both go to the local courthouse and get the paperwork going to start it in St. Louis City and St. Louis County and kind of do some of the footwork for the petition part of it. That's no problem.
Right. Because honestly, right now the main goal with these meetups is growth and increasing our information.
That's why I work from home. So that's why I'm always tweeting. And that's why I always do stuff like try to follow people, at least so everybody can get on the same page with the
Mhm.
information. And usually with the ADOS group, if it's some information that's not supported by data, you know what happens is everybody pounce on it, and the actual information get kind of expanded or expelled, or you kind of know what's going on. So I just want to know. I know it's not an official group here, but the least I can do is help organize one.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think we are at it's 11:40 now. Um, I'm gonna wrap up for the day, but basically, so next week we're gonna have our book club discussion, and now that I mean, we're getting the information, we're getting the data that we need to adequately advocate for reparations. We're gonna start sharing that. We're gonna start organizing, and we'll continue our discussions on what that looks like, and we'll continue discussing, you know, what each of us needs to do along those lines. So I want to thank you all for meeting today, and for those who are watching, thank you so much. And um, most of us are in the Twitter chat, so we can keep up with each other during the week. And I still need to get an email system going, so just in case something happens on Twitter. But that'll probably be in the works. So just look out for a MailChimp like sign up or something like that in the next week. But anyways, yeah, I appreciate you guys and girls, and thank you so much for giving up a chunk of your Saturday to chop it up, and we'll keep in touch during the week and be thinking about all the ways we can be better organized, and um, keep reading the book From Here to Equality. It's a lot, but we'll make it through, and that's it. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. See everybody later.